Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Emig, and I'm the Executive Director of the McLean County Museum of History. I'm delighted that you joined us on this beautiful Saturday, and welcome to this installment of Breaking Bread, Garam Masala Box, Indian American Cooking. And just for those who are new to us, Breaking Bread is a 10-part series that explores the shared and disparate experiences of local migrant communities, emphasizing our common experience of food, hence breaking bread, as well as stories of family, tradition, challenges, and exchange. To watch previous programs on this series, you should check out our McLean County Museum of History YouTube page, and you can find all of them there. We always begin the program with our Land Acknowledgement Statement, which is a formal recognition that respects Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards of this land. As a Museum of History, in particular, we think it is very important to make this just part of our ritual. The land we call McLean County is the ancestral land of many Native groups, beginning with the Paleo Indians 12,000 years ago, and most recently, Algonquin-speaking groups, including the Kickapoo, who were forced west from this area in the 1830s. I also want to acknowledge our partners, Be in Welcoming, which is a coalition of the Immigration Project, Not in Our Town, Not in Our Schools, the West Bloomington Revitalization Project, the Mennonite Church of Normal, and First United Methodist. And these organizations work together to create a supportive environment for immigrants in our community. We also are very grateful that Heartland Community College is a partner in education. I just learned from our star guest speaker that she's been having her own students watch the Breaking Bread series as part of her classroom work. And finally, I want to thank Design Street Studio. And this is the first time I get to thank the person behind all of that magic with all our Breaking Bread graphics. And your students did a marvelous job, Archana. So now for what you've all been waiting for, I am happy to introduce Archana Shekara, an associate professor of graphic design, the co-director of Ethnic Studies program, and the creative director of Design Street Studio at Illinois State University. Design Street Studio is a research-based social innovation lab that focuses on human-centered service design. Archana uses tools to build cross-cultural understanding, humility, acceptance, and respect. As a cultural researcher, she has been investigating transnational identity by understanding racism through a brown lens and sharing awareness through ethnographic narrative. This afternoon, Archana will be weaving her lived experiences in India, Illinois, and elsewhere with milestones of the local Indian community shared through pre-recorded firsthand accounts from aunties, uncles, and elders. And you know, Jay is also here. Archana, I think I'll let you introduce him before you kick off your program. And I will look forward to learning from you today.
Hi, everyone. So good afternoon. It's delightful to be a part of the Breaking Bread series. And thank you to the McLean County Museum of History for collaborating with Design Street and then giving me the opportunity to talk about Indian community migration to McLean County. And I invited Jay Tumala. I invited several other people too, but then unfortunately or fortunately, the people are at the temple today because the temple is celebrating the 6th anniversary. So most of the Indian community is attending, and I'm assuming that they're all going to watch the video that's going to be released soon. But Jay was very kind enough to join. So this is Jay Tumala. He's also on the Human Relations Commission on with Normal, the town of Normal. And then he's a friend as well. And then he's a part of the Telugu Association in town. So Jay wears a lot of hats, and I've interviewed Jay as well. And Jay is going to join us for the Q&A. So thank you, Jay, for taking your time and being a part of this. Thank you. So again, I'm delighted to talk about the Indian American migration stories and our cooking. I've been a resident of Bloomington since December 1994, and my husband and I moved from Poughkeepsie, New York. We came to the United States, or I came to the United States 30 years ago, landed at JFK Airport in New York City with stereotypical understanding of the country. I'm from Mysore in Karnataka state, which is known for its cultural history, heritage, art, and literature. So Mysore is a small town in Karnataka. When I say small, because I came to New York, so I think Mysore is a small town, but the population is about 1 million or so, current population. The city is known for its cuisine, and coming to the United States, I was aware that I would miss my hometown, people, language, the smell of Indian soil, food, and also the air. As soon as you land in India, you get this smell, and then you're like, oh, I'm home. People suggested that I should bring a few Indian clothes along with me, stainless steel utensils like plates, tumblers, a pressure cooker to make dal, a rolling pin, a garam masala box, and lots of various spice powders that were pre-mixed to make South Indian foods. So this is my garam masala box. So garam means heat or hot, and masala means spices. So my garam masala box. When you look at people's garam masala boxes, you know where they are, which region of India they are from. And this is how my garam masala box looks like. While growing up in India, we had one national channel. Cable television was unheard of, and learning about the United States was only through books, films, and family visits. So I'm talking about the 70s and 80s. My uncle moved to the United States in the 60s, and seeing my cousins during their visits made me feel like they were more privileged to be in the United States. Although we were from upper middle class family, as kids, we perceived the US to be glamorous, land of opportunities, freedom, feminism, Hollywood, Disney, and skyscrapers, and overall dreamland. But sometimes we felt that it was unattainable, and only the lucky few would get to see America. As a 19-year-old, I was shocked to learn about Rodney King and watch the riots in LA and on television. So when I came in 1991, it had just happened. And then I saw the riots in LA in 92. It was then I became aware of the struggles and oppressions that people of color were undergoing. As a student in India, I had learned about America's favorite presidents, Dr. Martin Luther King, who was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi in our textbooks, but Hollywood had labeled or negatively portrayed people of color, and this was the perception growing up because we were not exposed to anything better. Watching the racial tensions unveil made me question the beliefs that I had about the United States since my childhood. I began to notice prejudice and microaggressions, and back then, I did not have the language to express these implicit biases and racism. Living in upstate New York and going to school to study painting and drawing was a challenge. It was uncommon to find an Indian woman in an art building at the State University of New York at New Paltz. Most teachers and classmates were welcoming, but a few others questioned if I would ever make art, and would my work be as refined and sophisticated to meet standards of Western perceptions and understanding, since Eastern art was considered exotic and vernacular. It was challenging, and I felt the need to work twice as hard to be accepted. I cooked Indian food at home, but would take pasta and sandwiches for lunch because I had heard from friends that people did not like the smell of garam masala. My first visit to Bloomington Normal was in July of 1991. We drove from New York to visit my brother-in-law, and we moved to Bloomington in 1994, when my husband Chandra joined State Farm. We were the youngest Indian couple in town. There were no Indian grocery stores, or we had to drive to Chicago once in 3 months. We thought that we would live here for 5 years and then move to North Carolina. That's where my husband had his friends from undergraduate school, but then we stayed back. It has been 25 years now, and our 2 children were born here and raised here, and they consider Bloomington as home. So these are my children. These are my family pictures. I became involved in the Hindu society, which hosted weekly bhajans and pujas, that's worship, at people's homes, and the McLean County India Association, for short it's MCIA, which held social events like Deepavali banquets, Garba, and celebrated Indian holidays. As I actively volunteered in both organizations, I began to discover gaps in understanding, especially after 9/11, and witnessed hate because of my skin color. I felt like we were more noticed and visible after 9/11. There was a sense of fear and concern for safety. Strangers would question our growing Indian population in McLean County and asked if we would ever go back. As a cultural researcher and designer, I was compelled to have deeper conversations about cultural identity and wanted to connect the dots to build cross-cultural awareness and understanding. Several organizations reached out to me through MCIA to have dialogues, presentations, and trainings. And as a grad student at the U of I in 2008, I did a project called Voice, which promotes understanding, acceptance, and respecting of other cultures. And I'd like to share the first chapter of the Voice video. The first chapter is an introduction where several women from our community speak about their migration to Bloomington Normal in their language. Language and food is one of the means to keep our cultural history and traditions for our future generations. Here is the first chapter.
I followed my husband to America 19 years ago. Ibru makkaliddare nange. I'm an artist.
24 વર્ષ પહેલા US માં આવી મારા હસબન્ડે મને સ્પોન્સર કરી હતી. અત્યારે હું હાઉસવાઇફ
I came to the US about 13 years ago to do my master's in information systems. I started working, later went to India, got married. My husband followed me back. We now have 2 children.
मैं दिल्ली की रहने वाली हूँ. मेरे हस्बैंड 2000 में US आए और मैं 2001 മാർച്ച് में ആയി. मैं സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ എഞ്ചിനീയർ हूँ.
10 വർഷം മുമ്പ് കല്യാണം കഴിച്ച് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഹസ്ബൻഡിനെ US-ൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തു. അതിനുശേഷം ഒരു 4-5 കൊല്ലമായിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഒരു കമ്പനിയിൽ ആഡ് സർവീസസ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നു.
ನಾನು ಅಮೆರಿಕಾಗೆ 8 ವರ್ಷ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬಂದೆ. I came with my husband and 2 kids. ನಾನು సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇంజనీర్.
నేను అమెరికాకి 1969లో వచ్చాను. మా హస్బెండ్ కూడా వచ్చారు. I worked at my husband's office as a secretary and also raised 2 children.
I came to America 42 years ago. Stayed in New York, Phoenix, Cincinnati and Bloomington. I have dedicated my time for volunteering for many organizations.
So this was a glimpse from the first chapter of the Voice video. And if you want to watch the entire video, I'm sorry, you have to go visit my website. And lack of time, I'm just sharing only the first chapter. So we move on. So most of the Indian migration to McLean County happened in the late 60s due to State Farm, Illinois, Illinois State University, and Illinois Wesleyan University, and Clinton Power Plant. Men were highly educated and women were mostly homemakers. I visited a few senior uncle and aunties' homes and recorded conversations on my phone. These recordings are not sophisticated. There is background noise at times, and I wanted to keep this raw, bare, and intimate. If it was a studio-like setup, I was concerned that people would feel like they had to be their best to meet certain expectations. I visited Ramesh Chowdhury uncle and Pushpa auntie's home in Normal to share their migration story. Ramesh uncle was one of the early migrants. He moved from Iowa in 1970 to join Illinois State University. He was one of the founding members of MCIA and the Hindu Society.
Well, I came to ISU in 1970. 1st September 1970, I joined as a computer programmer, scientific computer programmer. And that was the day the computer center was moving from one building to a new building called Eastgate Hall, which is known now as Julian Hall. And that's where I worked for the rest of my life almost. So McLean County India Association formally got established somewhat later, but until it got established, most of the programs were happening sort of informally. They were organized informally. Somebody would take a lead. For example, Savita Ben, Mrs. Patel, would take a lead sometimes and say, okay, we are doing Diwali this way, and we are going to do it at a certain place. And it will be a, people bring one dish and we share. That type of, because there were no restaurants that could supply food, Indian food at the time. And also, there was no money collected or anything. So no, there wasn't a question of renting facility. Later on, we did rent a clubhouse at a golf course, and our children performed on top of the tables as a stage. Another time, we did a performance in Miller Park Pavilion. There was no stage there either. Two ladies were holding a sari as a backdrop for dances and songs. So, McLean County India Association functions continued in this manner for many years before Sharat Chidgopekar organized formally. So that means we had bylaws, and we had an annual fee collected, and so that's how McLean County India Association started. The impact of also the Hindu society got started on a very informal basis, because for a Diwali function, we were practicing some singing, and we had so much fun just practicing, and then did the performance. And so these devotional songs became so popular, and that practice became so popular that we started thinking, why not do this on a regular basis? And therefore, we started a few families, handful of families, 6 or 7, decided we are going to do this every Sunday on a rotation basis at each other's house. Then that practice of singing devotional songs grew into, followed by lunch. And as the group increased, the lunch became even better, and we started enjoying it much more. The kids started singing. The impact of that regular gathering of the families on the kids was immense, because they made friendships with each other, and that sometimes made up for the lack of friendships or the feeling of an outlier in school, because they always had a friend that they could talk to from the bhajan group. And that's how the Hindu society came into being. So this practice continued for many years until it got organized and had bylaws and annual fee and so on. And that continued. The other important effect of this practice of going to people's house, a different house every Sunday, brought that community really together. Everybody felt at home at everybody else's house, to the extent where my wife knew exactly all the ingredients, where they are kept in everybody's house to make tea. So she could go and make tea after the bhajans. and so could many others. So this camaraderie really is a characteristic of this community. It would be very hard to find this any other place. Yeah.
And when you were raising the two children here, so how did they feel like going to school and the adjustment with terms of food? How was that for them?
We raised two daughters here, and both of them are very successful, very happy with their lives. It is from them that I learned the impact of Hindu society, the bhajans, and the camaraderie among the families and so on. Because annual Diwali function would have children's talent shows. And for these talent shows, kids had to prepare, they had to learn. And there were volunteers in the community that took the time to teach a bunch of kids a particular dance, a particular song, or a particular play, and they would get together for practice and so on, and then they would perform on the stage. So this enriched all the kids' lives. They learned about their culture, even though they were growing up in a foreign, under the influence of foreign culture for them. But they are well versed. They are well versed in our language as well as the American culture, and they have wonderful friendships that carries on well beyond school and college. Even as they are working, they keep in touch with each other.
So we will, I also talked to Pushpa Aunty, and I'd like to share.
Okay, you want me to talk about the challenge? I had a worst time in my life, I can say, when I came here, because we didn't have any Indians here, and I didn't know much English that time. So I had a communication problem. Plus, I had buying a Indian grocery that wasn't there, and especially I missed my parents' family that time because communication was very poor. We used to call to India means calling the operator, and operator was used to say, "Oh, you have to wait for that long, 8 hours, 9 hours, like that." But that was kind of sad for me. They get talk to my parents that much, and a couple of my brothers got married. I couldn't go to the wedding because of the money issue. We didn't have that much to go every year, so we used to go every 5 years. That was one of the challenge, I can say. And the girls were, I have two daughters, and they did pretty good though. I used to take them for tap dance, swimming, piano. They did all of that, and challenge was one of these doctor, one was lawyer, and I think I can say they did pretty good. And each are very happy in their life. They were married to Indian guys, both of them, and we had a wedding here, Sapna's wedding we did here, and with the big crowd, and we got it well done like India's wedding.
So even though in the beginning you felt like there were a few challenges, but then you raised two successful, you got over it, and you raised two successful daughters.
Yeah, right.
That's very nice, Auntie. So how did you, when you came to the United States, and then especially to McLean County, you talked about access to food, especially Indian food.
Right.
So would you bring some of the groceries from India?
I used to get groceries from India, 2 bags full of groceries, and all this spices and all whatever I can, nuts and spices and all of that. We brought it from India, but then slowly, gradually we got used to going to Chicago and got the groceries from there. It was okay then after that. But I really don't know why people come to US at that time. I can still say it's not the, but now I don't want to go back and stay there now. You see, because of my kids are here, my grandkids are here, so I'm happy now.
So when did you come to Bloomington Normal?
I came here in 1971.
So that's been a really long time. So you consider this your home?
Oh yeah, now I can say it's my home.
It's your home.
Yeah. My home and my town. I'm not going to move from here. I love it.
Love it.
My friends and Hindu temple. I like to do volunteer work there, and I love cooking. And that's my life now, I can say.
Yeah, you're a wonderful cook, Auntie.
Yeah, I don't know, but I love to cook.
Yeah. And so when we wouldn't get groceries here, so would you, like, you make a lot of rotis at home.
Yeah.
So how would you manage that when we wouldn't get wheat flour?
Like I said, one of us, they used to go to Chicago and get the grocery for all of us.
That's nice.
Because, that all-purpose flour, you can't make roti out of it. And it's not healthy to eat either. So we used to do that. We share the groceries and all of that. So it was okay. It took us a little bit long time though to get used to the system, but gradually we did.
Thanks, Auntie.
I had the privilege to serve MCIA in various roles since 2005, and finally as the president of the organization in 2016. In 2011, I helped in developing a partnership with MCIA and Illinois State University's Office of the President, and brought the Festival of India to Illinois State. The attendance of the festival grew from 400 to 800 people over the years. It was a great way to showcase and share our cultural traditions with the larger community. It also provided a platform for the Indian community to share their diverse and unique cultural traditions. And this was an active learning experience for the Indian American children as well. The festival was awarded 2 grants, the Town of Normal's Harmon Grant Award, Harmon Arts Grant in 2012, and the Arts and Culture Grant by Illinois Prairie Community Foundation in 2016, which I wrote, and I thank my college for supporting my application. The logo for the festival was designed by my student, Jessica Hanel, in my special topics and graphic design course, which focused on cross-cultural awareness and identity. Dr. Jeevan Patel, uncle, and Savita auntie were one of the members who moved to Bloomington with 4 children in 1972. Savita auntie is a very active member in the community, was also the past president of McLean County India Association, and she's a very active member in at the temple as well. So I went to their house, and then uncle is a retired pediatrician, and I went to their house, and here is their story.
We came to McLean County in 1972. That time, I think we did not have any Indian food, but we used to go to Chicago to buy our food and come here. And I think that time also when we moved, we have 4 or 5 whom we know at least, the Indian family, they were here. And we used to get along pretty good with them. Even we start Diwali with them,
then
the Christmas with them.
Then over the next 2 to 5 years, lot of people started coming in. And then it became a significant 15, 20 families or so, round about that in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and I think I started the Garba in my basement. That's the first thing. I gathered a few ladies and I just started Garba in my basement.
And cooperation from Springfield and Peoria.
And then 76, 78, we had a big Garba where all the invited, I have Springfield, Peoria, Decatur, all the people, I invited them to join us for Garba. That was a really nice thing, I can say that we did that.
Our main problem was the social get-together as well as food. There are two main problems. There were no organization like India Association, then Hindu temple or anything like that. Whatever we used to do is just as one of the house.
How was it to raise children here in Bloomington Normal?
Bloomington Normal, I think that time, I think since my girls were already, Aarti was already in the Finnish high school when I came here, right?
Coming closer, not finished. She went to high school.
Oh, she went to high school here?
Bloomington High School. No, they were the first Indian going into the high school, and for them it's a new community entering in the school district, who little bit speak differently, look different.
It was a challenge for the children, because I remember in the bus also the boy tried to put her hair and then they tried to, but then I was little brave. I went to the school and then talked to the principal.
Yeah.
And they said this is not right. And then I think I used to talk. Then I joined, I think, so many things. I joined the PTA also, as a room mother also. So I know what my children are doing and how the teachers are behaving with my children. And I said, if anybody get anything mad or anything something, I had a real nice friendship, I can say, with one of the clerk. And I say, you let me know, and if my children forget money for the lunch or something, you are the one who pay, because I saw how they were without the money. If they don't have, how the children cannot have food and everything. It was a different kind of a thing in the school also. But for them also, my child was completely different looking child. I think
but we always felt that as a physician, we were treated well, we are really highly respected, and they are ready to help us.
So being your occupation or your profession helped you to settle down?
A lot, actually.
Not even then. When I moved first time in my house, people come on the bike and come to see me.
Yeah,
a
lady with the sari, they have never seen.
They have seen the sari, and then one girl said that we have a witch who is living next to my house.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, those are expression of the children. Yeah,
the children are there.
That is their perception.
Because he saw me in
we didn't feel bad about it.
Yeah, that was something too. Yeah, and then slowly, I think I get into neighbor. I joined the breed group. I just try to take the children. So then I think they accepted me. In the beginning, I know that they were looking at me as a something stranger. What is he doing and how? I mean, they used to watch me whenever I used to do something also. But I think later on it, slowly, it came out okay.
Over the next 5-6 years, like by 78, we have a sizable Indian community, a lot of people, especially with a special skill they were. So they all had good jobs, and then we started forming our organization, India Association, then Hindu Temple.
First was India Association, then we have the Hindu societies. We started that also.
Of McLean County.
Yeah,
and then gradually it grew.
I think State Farm really helped, and so did Illinois State.
Yeah, right there. ISC and State Farm, those are two big employers, and they bring all educated people.
To bring in for the community, the Indian community to grow.
Grow in the community to grow, yeah.
We came to McLean.
Interesting experience with the neighbors. Savita has a lot of young friends. They used to come to our home, and we being a doctor, they always respect us. And one friend wanted to just give a hug as their customs were, and I have never done that to a lady. in public anytime. So I just went behind and I said, I'm not going to eat you. I'm not going to bite you.
Because we don't touch, like, you know, in customary, like in Indian traditions, we really don't touch women, and there's always a distance that's being maintained.
That's right. Oh, I used to invite lady to my house for so many times the Indian tea, and I introduced to Indian tea to so many people in my neighborhood. So, and after we dropped the children at the school, we all get together at my house, and I said, okay, come on, we are all in the gown. Believe me, you are not dead. And then that time the difference was that ladies were not working. Most of the time the men were working.
The ladies were at home there.
So that was the nice things. After we all drop our children and we get together at somebody's house for a little bit tea and coffee, and then we start our day. So it was a real nice thing, I can say. The starting was good.
So we hope that you will share how to make tea or chai.
Yeah, I have perfected the art now.
So looking forward to learning it from you, Uncle, and sharing it.
See, everywhere you learn from lady, here you are going to learn from men.
Oh, that is great. Men in the kitchen is great.
Yeah.
We don't see that often in Indian homes.
And not in Indian house.
I have only limited permission to enter in the kitchen. And limited permission to touch certain things.
Touch certain things.
Yeah.
Okay, you can show her how to make the tea.
No, we will make tea.
So what did you put here, Uncle?
This is tea leaves.
These are tea leaves?
Tea leaves, yeah.
Okay, so is there a particular brand that we need to buy or?
No.
Anything is fine.
Everybody will find their own favorite.
Okay. So any favorite?
Yeah.
From the Indian store?
From the Indian
Yes,
store.
Wagh bakri.
Ah, Wagh bakri. Got you.
We are using Wagh bakri.
Got you.
Yeah.
Tiger and bakri.
Oh, that one. Got you. Yes. Yeah, Wagh bakri. Thanks, Uncle.
Premium tea, Wagh bakri.
Tea. Okay. So you how many cups of water did you add?
No, for one individual, 1 cup. So, and 1 teaspoonful of leaves.
The leaves, okay.
Dry leaves.
Dry leaves. And then you're letting it to boil?
Let it get warm up.
Okay.
And I will add some ginger in between.
That is what we do. Ginger is the main thing.
Yeah, ginger not here, mommy.
I put it outside for you then.
Oh, she has it ready.
Yeah. There is the ginger.
Okay, then everybody has their own way of doing it. But okay, then I just
grate
it, and approximately how much you like to have. It depends upon the quality of the ginger as well. That you know, Paul. Yeah.
So nobody used the lemongrass. We use the lemongrass in our tea.
Oh, how nice!
That I am going to show her that too.
And we grow our own lemongrass.
So it's just right from the backyard.
Oh, the lemongrass is fresh, completely
fresh. Wow.
Okay, now let it boil all the 3. Now just go and get your lemongrass.
Yeah, I grow lemongrass in my yard. Whenever I need, I go and get the lemongrass.
And you go and get lemongrass. I've never tried lemongrass tea.
I know, nobody has tried. This is something different.
Nice.
This gives a little different flavor at the end.
It has a different taste.
So nice. And then a cup of milk.
Yeah. 1/3 cup of milk per 1 cup of tea.
Got you.
Yeah, that's the ratio.
That's the ratio.
Yes.
Put a half cup of
we make
milk,
half
cup of water, half cup. I use half and half.
So you make your tea in the microwave.
And then I put the tea bag also. First I just let it boil. Boil means that's real nice. And then I put the tea bag. and then let the tea bag stay there for a while. Then I put my sugar and little bit of that tea masala, and then drink it.
Because microwave is more convenient?
Yes.
But
I
uncle...
I don't have to clean the pot.
You don't have to clean the pot. But uncle, you make it the traditional way?
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. You don't like microwave tea?
Not necessarily, I don't do it.
He never had that one. He always, even he has the 1 cup, he make that way.
Yeah, even I'm also like that. Even for 1 cup, I'll still make it on the stove.
Old way. Yeah.
Old way, old fashioned.
And that too also everybody makes it little differently.
True.
Yeah. See, Balwant Singh, when we go, they make it little differently. And that tea also comes out different.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I add ginger. And then I add some pepper, black pepper.
Oh really? Black pepper? We never do that. Right.
Little bit of black pepper.
Masala for black pepper, right?
And then some cardamom.
I know, yeah.
That comes in the masala. That's ready to
you
go.
You put the masala. Oh, yes, yes.
Ready to go masala.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Tea masala.
That chai masala.
And this is made at home.
At home?
Oh, yeah, it's made at home. We had all the 5 ingredients. We put it in there.
No, there she is.
This is ginger, no?
I know, we put the ginger.
Yeah. So and what are the 5 ingredients in that?
It's black pepper, ginger powder, then elaichi. Elaichi means cardamom. And then our cinnamon.
Cinnamon, yeah, I do that too.
Then I put little bit of nutmeg.
Ah.
Nutmeg we have.
That's a 5 thing.
Nice, nice, nice.
Grinded.
I put jalpatri, little bit.
Yeah, that is what we call jaifer.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a
yeah.
I have that one too.
Yeah,
but I thought you don't understand. That's why
no,
I said
when I add jalpatri to it, I don't get heartburn. Once in a while, I would get heartburn after drinking chai.
Really?
And once I started putting a little bit of the mace or jalpatri, then no more heartburn. It's all gone.
I had a
yeah.
It's like it's a different than nutmeg.
Yeah. Just a tad bit, and it tastes so good also. It smells good and it tastes good. So it's almost there.
Yeah, it's done.
Done?
Yep.
Yeah, more or less getting done. Let it boil for some time.
Okay.
Yeah, boiling gets up the extract of the tea.
Yeah, it's a good decoction at least.
Yeah, right.
So I had a wonderful cup of tea with Jeevan uncle and Savita auntie. And so the Hindu temple effort started in 2005 as the Indian population grew. There was a need for representation and Hindu identity and a place for worship. Families who gathered on Sundays for bhajan and later socialized, but this wasn't enough for the future generation. So it was more like, how can we have our own space to worship together? And this is Archana Shekara, my husband. He's going to share.
Chandra, can you tell us how the temple effort started?
Prior to 2014, we used to travel to Chicago to visit a temple. It used to be a full-day activity to visiting a temple. One day, our daughter came up to me and said, "Dad, why do we have to go to Chicago to visit a temple? Why can't we have a temple in town?" That thought started in mind, thinking about a temple in town. I started sharing my thoughts with a friend of mine who happens to be a biking buddy. And as we brainstormed the idea, we decided, I think we should start sharing our temple concept with the community, Indian community people. So we had our first meeting in June of 2006.
How did the people take it? Was the community welcoming and they listened to your efforts, or was there challenges?
Well, people definitely had resistance initially. They said, "Hey, we tried back in the 90s, early 90s. It failed. What's different now?"
So what was different now?
Actually, there were several things different. in 2005, we had more community people, more Indian community presence in Bloomington.
The Hindu presence?
Hindu presence. And also, there were more kids. People had more kids. So they used to all had the same issues, going to Chicago or going to Peoria or some other temple. So having a temple was definitely a must in everybody's mind.
So that's really wonderful. So then the effort started, and I think we bought land.
Yes. So in order to kick off this temple effort, we said, let's, those who believe in this temple effort, commit, some money. So there were 13 members came together and put down almost $130,000. That was this initial seed money for the temple effort.
So then, so that's how you started. And I think in 2014 was when we had our, the temple opened officially?
Yes. Actually, after that, starting from 2008, we started having temple activities in One Normal Plaza and YWCA. That's how every month we used to have an activity. That's how people came to know more about the temple and the temple vision, temple goals. Every time new people used to come, we used to share with them. And they started believing what temple is happening in town. And we were able to raise some more funds. In 2009, we bought a land, 3-acre land on Tullamore Road. Then we invited people to come to the land and look at the temple vision, structure, early architecture, and the goals. So that's actually raised some really good funds. We raised almost 100,000 in one day. Then people really started believing what temple is happening in town. From 2009 onwards until 2013, we raised almost close to $500,000. So the temple effort, what we were getting was close to $1 million. So since we had raised almost $500,000, we started the construction in 2012. The temple opened in 2014. We had a grand celebration of our temple opening ceremony, and almost 2,000 people attended the temple opening ceremony. Temple has been in operation in the last 6 years, and this year we are celebrating our 6th year anniversary. Temple is open for all, and it's not only for Hindu community, it's open for our extended community, Bloomington Normal. As a matter of fact, we invite people from colleges, schools, and other faith to come and visit our temple. In fact, we have provided several presentations in the past. In fact, we are having our temple anniversary this week. Today is our second day of 6th anniversary celebration. We have a presentation called Intro to Hindu Sanatana Dharma from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. If anybody is interested, they can attend. All they have to go to our temple website, www.hindutemple. ourhindutemple.org.
Yeah.
And there they can find the links.
Thank you so much, Chandra.
So there was a lack of serving vegetarian food at daycare centers when my children were younger. They got special permission to bring food from home, but certain daycare centers did not allow home-cooked food. So a few friends' children were given no choice but to eat meat in school. This was extremely concerning to Chandra and I. So when Chandra became the MCIA president in 2005, he contacted the Unit 5 Superintendent's office and proposed vegetarian meal tickets. I remember providing suggestions for vegetarian meals to be served in area schools. And since then, we have green vegetarian meal tickets. The concept of vegetarian was misunderstood at restaurants until recently. So earlier, people would just simply take out the meat in front of us and give us the sandwich. Food was cooked in chicken broth and was served as vegetarian, or people would ask us if we got enough protein or if dal would cause bloating. I was too happy to share that asafoetida and ginger are the ingredients to add to their bean dish. So since we did not have a grocery store until late 90s, many of Indian families drove to Towanda where a farmer would grow Indian vegetables and weekends would be fun visiting the farm to harvest. The community was thrilled when the first Indian grocery store, RK Groceries, opened on Young Drive near College Avenue. And we no longer had to go to Chicago to buy Indian food. If we ran out of rice before our next Chicago trip, then we would buy jasmine rice from the Oriental Food Store, but unfortunately the store is closed now. The first Indian restaurant opened in 1997, where we were thrilled that we could actually enjoy eating fresh naan made in a tandoor oven at India Garden on Brock Drive. We were used to substituting pita bread as naan since then, and several Indian restaurants have come and gone, but we currently have 4 restaurants and 3 grocery stores, Punjabi and South Indian cuisine, mostly from Andhra and Telangana region. I visited Sri Narayan Chandak and Asha Chandak auntie, have been in Bloomington since 1975 and both volunteer for several Indian organizations. And they are from Marwa region in Rajasthan. And Asha auntie shared her recipe to make lapsi, which is a traditional Marwari sweet and a must during festivals and weddings. It's made from broken wheat, jaggery, and ghee.
Yeah, most of my clothes that I brought with me were just saris. I would wear saris every day, and like even during the day I would be wearing sari and walk on the road, and everybody would stop me and look at my clothes and sort of appreciate it very much, and I felt very good about it at that time. And when I started working, it was required that I wear dresses, which I mean, which I was not very used to after a certain age, you know. So it was difficult in the beginning, but I got used to wearing dresses, and of course later the dress code became more casual. So you could wear, I mean, now it is very casual. You can wear whatever you want, but at that time it was not like that.
So this is in State Farm, you mean, or
no? This was in Chicago when I was working. I started working in 1969 when I came here. So.
And what are you wearing today, Auntie? What is this called?
Today I'm wearing salwar kurta. So this is, I can stand up and show you. This is called chunni or dupatta, and you wear it in different ways, whichever way you like. So,
that's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Auntie.
So this is Asha Auntie's Garam Masala box. And Asha Auntie, like she said, she's from Rajasthan. And you see how different her box is, well, compared to mine. And I took a picture of Auntie with her ingredients for lapsi. And here she makes it.
So what do we have now, Auntie?
Okay, now this is cooked lapsi. So the cracked wheat is more or less soft.
Okay.
And you can see that it's very soft. Now I'll go ahead and add the jaggery to it. It's about 3/4 cup jaggery. If you want it sweeter, you can add almost up to the same amount of cracked wheat. But because we like it less sweet, I take 3/4 cup, add it there. And this will, some liquid will come out of it because it's like sugar. If you don't have jaggery, you can add sugar to it.
Okay.
So it's same, I mean, I like to add jaggery, and traditionally it is made with jaggery. Yeah.
It has that raw taste to it too.
So now once it becomes a little more watery, and just cook it for a few minutes, maybe just about 3-4 minutes, and add your nuts if you want to add nuts, but otherwise you're done. I just did, I added the saffron and the cardamom before I could start doing this. So
And this was the end result of lapsi, and this is how it looked. I thought it looked so beautiful. Had never tried it before, so it was my first time eating lapsi as well. It was just delicious. She decorated or garnished with nuts. So I spoke with Jai Tumala, whom I introduced earlier, who serves on the Town of Normal's Human Relations Commission. He was instrumental in establishing a school for children interested in learning and writing their native language, Telugu, which I thought was extremely fascinating and important.
So hi, Jay. It's nice to have you today. And so just wanted to know a little bit more about you. So when did you come to the United States? And then also Bloomington Normal. So please share your story.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me, Archana. So I came to the country alone, actually, on a work for a work reason with IBM way back in 2000. I can't just believe that it's been a little over 20 years now. So I started my career in Atlanta, Georgia. To my surprise, I moved from Bangalore at the time. I mean, it's kind of a nice transition because it's a hilly greenery and everything. And then because of work again, I have to go to Vermont, and a complete transition from to a complete rural side of the country with green mountains and stuff. I was there for 10 months. Meanwhile, my family joined me with my daughter. And then a year later, an opportunity came up in Bloomington. That was in 2003, early part of 2003. So we came here to this the flatland. It's a completely different but nice transition in the sense that coming from mountains to the complete flat land. So but it's a nice little town, and we made so many friends up here. So I feel like it's a very good move coming from two different completely diversified places within the country.
What year did you move here?
We moved in Bloomington area in 2003.
In 2003.
Yeah, it's a little over 18 years now. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So is this your second home?
This is the longest. This is the place where I stayed longest, and I didn't even stay in my hometown for this long. So yeah, this is home after home for me, and I think that is true for my wife as well. But when it comes to my kids, this is the only home they know, because my daughter was moved to the country when she was like 3 months. Mm-hmm. And my son is born in Bloomington. So this is the only place they know. Yeah. All right, so back in 2003, we started a Telugu language school in Bloomington Normal area, and a local Telugu association supported it. And I have become the founder coordinator in association with the local Telugu association. And it's called Silicon Andhra Manabadi. Silicon Andhra is like a parent organization. They started in Silicon Valley, so that's where the Silicon has become. Andhra is the name, a part of the name of the state. So that's Silicon Andhra. And then Manabadi means, Mana means ours, Badi means school. It's like our school. So what it does is, it's a non-profit organization. They teach Telugu language for the kids who are from Indian heritage, with the goal to be able to connect back to their heritage, culture, and even with to be able to communicate well with their relatives back home, and most importantly the grandmas and grandparents, because obviously when you move to a different country, you're far away and you want to listen to your grandkids, and so this is one of the best opportunity for them to be able to fluently speak to their grandparents and whatnot. So we started this in 2003 with 30 plus kids, and we grew to 90, and right now because of COVID we see some kind of a slowness, because it's all has become virtual and not many parents were ready to add more digital time for in their kids' plate. But it's a non-profit organization. We meet twice a week for a couple hours, and we basically teach them how to read, how to write, and also build the vocabulary, and we also help them talk in the language, and we also encourage all the parents to communicate that at their homes. I mean, the way we see that is it's like, you know, I mean, you're seeing a different patterns in immigration in the last 100 years in this country, right? I mean, so you have seen Irish, you have seen German and whatnot. I mean, because of the computers and whatnot, so you see a lot of Indian migration through skilled workers. And how do you keep your heritage while you are giving back to this country? And language is one of the things. And we did go through some challenges while we are putting this up because it was new, and you know we gotta get a buy-in from the local community, and they were not quite ready to understand the need and why they need to have their kids spend a couple hours outside of their home and learn this language. What does it really do to them? So I'll tell a small story that people don't realize the importance of being multilingual. But my daughter, who works in State Farm Park as a lifeguard a few years ago, she has gone through the school. She knows how to talk. And there is like an Indian family who speaks our language, and a grandparent who's visiting. She was completely lost at the swimming pool because, you know, her son or daughter who actually dropped her went to a different place in the park, and she was left to look after the grandson, and then she's kind of completely lost and looking at all the lifeguards, and they looked at and came to my daughter, hey, she's speaking in some foreign language, do you understand? And I'm so glad that my daughter was able to communicate with her. She happened to be a Telugu, and communicate with her, and then connected the kid and also the parents. So the small things like that, I mean, you know, makes a huge difference. So we don't recognize this, but there's a lot of things that you get benefited out of this, because the culture is a huge thing, irrespective of which country you actually migrate to, but that's your heritage, because it's not going to go away just because you're in a different country. Yeah, I mean, we are part of a national group as part of this school is concerned, and so far in the last 10 years, they helped 70,000+ kids to learn the language and help preserve the heritage.
That's very impressive, Jay. And then the story that you shared about your daughter helping, that's fantastic. And I think that makes a huge difference, trying to keep our own culture, our own language for our future generations. So great job.
And thank you.
So thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I've been hosting Indian cooking classes at Green Top Grocery, and it has been a fun experience to share recipes, since food is one of the primary ways to understand another culture. I created Tanumana, a participatory installation showcasing ingredients used in Indian cuisine for my thesis project at grad school. I have continued to explore the ritual of making and serving food through narratives based on my cultural heritage and memory and upbringing. Creating a welcoming space to gather groups of friends or strangers around a table to share a meal is rewarding to me. I perceive the space as organic, vibrant, and sacred. Gestures, pauses, conversations, laughter, and slurps, these sensual experiences are fascinating and blissful. I recently performed Annam project, a participatory community cooking experience around the consumption of rice through a brown cultural lens at Design Inquiry, a research-based graphic design residency. And I've had the pleasure to cook at Japan House in Urbana, Champaign, to provide an immersive cultural experience. I usually volunteer at the Hindu temple to cook. And yesterday, Hannah Johnson from the McLean County Museum of History was there, and then she recorded a little bit about my cooking, and she was great. She was my sous chef yesterday. thanks, Hannah, for this wonderful video. So I thank all the participants and then the McLean County Museum of History, BN Welcoming, and the Immigration Project, and several other collaborators for giving me a chance. And I'm thrilled that through Design Street Studio Lab at Illinois State University, my students were able to share this honor as well. And so thank you, and we welcome question and answers.
Thank you so much. That was just wonderful.
Thanks, Julia.
Yeah. So the chat room is open. Feel free to drop any questions you have. Mike wants you to know that your interviews were very touching. I actually lived in Kingston, New York for about 8 years. So I'm very familiar with Poughkeepsie. I used to take the train to New York City from Poughkeepsie.
Oh, nice. We lived in New Paltz for 2 years and then moved to Poughkeepsie. So Kingston was it's like about half hour or so.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful area. Yeah.
This particular edition feels like a reunion of sorts for me and your family. So grateful. We are truly more alike and we are different in terms of values, dreams, and aspirations. I came to Bloomington in 1989. Archana thought I would be here for 5 years. I thought I would be here for 5 years as well. It's now been over 30 years, and not unlike Jay, I have spent more of my life continuously in this community than anywhere else in my life. My children were born in Bloomington also.
Nice.
That is nice. And can you share any additional stories on how your children handled the school transitions and situations?
Jay, do you want to go first and then I can continue?
First of all, this is awesome. It's been a great interviews, and it's great to see so many veterans on the panel, and especially Pushpa. I'm sorry, Swapna or Pushpa. What's it? Pushpa, right?
Pushpa.
Yeah. So she was working in Blooming Grove Academy when my daughter went there for kindergarten. So that was awesome. So, and looking at all their the transitions and experiences, I'm like, oh man, I'm like a baby here, even though I'm old enough. Well, I think in terms of my kids' education, I mean, my daughter we moved her here when she was 3 months, and she went to Blooming Grove Academy to start with, and then to Grove Elementary and Chittick and so on. My son is born here, and this is the only place he calls home at the moment at least. So, I mean, I think in terms of experiences, these kids will obviously, we hear stories, and obviously they look different, and I think some of the things that they experience, especially is with food. They have so much hesitation to take homemade food to school because either someone commented that, it's a different smell, it's stinky, I mean, it's obviously something that the other kids have not exposed to. So this is a different thing, right? So I mean, I heard stories from other families as well, that kids complaining that they don't want to take this food, but eventually they go through that in the sense that they realize that, okay, so everyone is different, and I mean, and then they make friends, and then friends will obviously get exposed to the culture, and they understand, and people move on when they know each other. So I wouldn't necessarily say I have difficult experiences to be able to share with you, but both of them went to school here. So thank you.
So for me, both my children were born here. So my son is 24 now, and my daughter is 22. When my daughter was in first grade, she came home and she said that she's not pretty anymore. And I was kind of hurt in the way she was thinking, because she said, my friend told me that I'm not pretty to look because I don't have golden hair. And my friend said that in order to be pretty, you need to have golden hair. So can I have golden hair? And so then I was, again, I didn't have the language at that time. I sat her down and I told her, do you know what my daughter's name is Aishwarya? And there is a Bollywood actress whose name is Aishwarya as well. My daughter doesn't know Aishwarya Rai. She hadn't seen any Bollywood movies at that time. So I sat her down and I told her, do you know that Julia Roberts, who's one of Hollywood's famous actress, said that Aishwarya Rai is the most beautiful woman on the planet? And so you should be proud of your brown skin and black hair. So you're fine, you're good looking and you're beautiful. Looking back at that statement that I said to her, she doesn't know who Julia Roberts was. She doesn't know who Aishwarya Rai was either. That statement was for myself. And I did not have the language to explain to a 5-6-year-old. So then I thought that I have to do something, right? So just like how we did about the vegetarian meal ticket. So at that time, I felt like I needed to do something. So that's when I became extremely active in the McLean County India Association and tried to build this cross-cultural understanding so we can have language. So then we can talk about, so we can connect the dots. Then with my, as my daughter was growing up, I got introduced to Mike Matika with Not in Our Town and became a part of the steering committee. So before that even happened, my daughter was a part of the diversity project with Jeff Schwartz. So he introduced Aishwarya to Camille Taylor and Mary Eplington from Not in Our School. And then she was one of the one of the students to start Not in Our School. So that was her advocacy, her thing. So, and now we have Not in Our School now in area schools. So Mary and Camille worked alongside Aishwarya and Kavya Sudhir and several other students. And now we have Not in Our School in our area. And for my son, my son's very quiet. So when I would talk to him about how his school is going, he had very diverse group of friends. There was once where one of his teachers invited me to have a conversation, and then this was in middle school at Kingsley, and I don't want to go into details of who invited and whatnot. So, and when I went in, there were a group of 3 teachers. And then they told me how good my son was doing and then they said that he does so good in math and science and everything else, but then he doesn't have good friends. So then that maybe was like, oh, really? Aniruddha never told me. Aniruddha is my son's name. Aniruddha never said anything. I mean, he's fine with his friends. And they said, no, he doesn't mingle with the right group of friends. So I now kept wondering, what does that mean when you say right group of friends, right? So when Aniru came home that afternoon, and then I sat him down again, and then wear your mom's hat, and then be like, what does that mean? And then he said, Mom, I have friends who get into trouble. I have friends who are good, who study well. I have diverse friends. And just because a person gets into trouble for whatever reason that they had experienced that morning, and then they're not doing that well in class or whatever, but I still want them to be my friend. So I just because I'm getting an A, I don't need to have a friend who also gets an A in class. I just want to be friends with everyone. And I think that was a great eye opener for me, the way he was thinking. And then I just felt sad for the teachers that they couldn't perceive. And then they wanted Aniruddha to hang out with a certain group of friends, or a certain group of students, and not a certain other group. So, and that was concerning, right? So, and then I would ask, I mean, I'm the kind of parent who talks a lot with and has a conversation with my kids, because I teach. So I kind of have that, because I want to listen to what the kids are undergoing. So now my son is 24, and then when I would ask about like complex issues regarding racism, prejudices, and he would be like, Mom, I think things are fine. I feel like you're just thinking too much about it. That's what he would tell me when, as a 12, 13-year-old. But now as a 24-year-old, he's more aware. And then, and so he's like, he comes back and he says, now I get it. I get it. I understand your concerns. And now I see it. So it took him a while for him to really see and keep his eyes open, or maybe he was under denial, and then all of a sudden it just hit him, and then he I don't know, he suddenly became woke. So, but for my daughter, it was always there for her. So but it's been a challenging experience, but it's been a wonderful experience. So we consider Bloomington Normal as our second home. And for them, it is home.
I don't want to let this go, because I was personally so inspired by your description of how you chose the field of art and graphic design, and the struggles that you had to create your own career, given the misconceptions that people have about art and culture. And I'm sure that continues, you know, and it was very inspirational for me to hear that story. There's a question. Somebody had a little problem with the audio. You know, those movies are harder to hear. I found I could hear everything really well if I used headphones, just for the world out there. If you want to go back and with some headphones, and you can turn it up and you can hear them. But you refer to the older people you interviewed as uncle and auntie. Is that a common tradition?
Yeah, I mean, because when it is a common tradition back home in India that you, out of respect, you don't call people with their first names. Instead, you refer to them as uncle and aunties, and then they just become a part of your extended family. Since we moved to town in '94, and Chandra and I were the youngest couple, and most of the uncle aunties were my parents' age. And I was kind of hesitant to call them by their first name. And some uncle aunties were like, just call us uncle aunties. We are So okay. they kind of, because I felt odd to just call like, you know, Savita, or like, I mean, they're so much more elder. And some of the uncle aunties are actually older than my parents as well. So, and out of respect, so I call them uncle aunties. But then also when you say uncle aunties too, there's a sense of, there is a sense of belonging. There is a sense of family. When you call people, when you treat elders with respect and love, the magic happens, right? So you're connected a little better. You become a little closer, I think. So, and I think that kind of has helped me in the past 25 years or so that we have lived in Bloomington, that I've just been able to connect with the older folks that have moved in the 70s. Because of this, and then they were there to help me raise my children as well.
Sure. And you know, you could see it in their faces, like when you would refer to them as such. You're right. There was almost a visceral, kind, cherished feeling that they communicated back to you. So that.
Yeah, they have seen me. I mean, when I moved to town, I was 22. And then they have seen me grow as well. And I have seen them grow as well. So it's been that fantastic relationship that I have shared with the seniors in this town.
Yeah, and all the stories weave together the challenges beautifully with the maintenance of culture and language and food, and finding ways to not only preserve your identities, but to share, right? To build those bridges. There's a question about the tea, and then I'll make sure everybody saw Jay's correction before we sign off. Kudos, thank you for sharing your experiences with food, family, and culture. When you are making tea, is it common to boil the ingredients and the water together in a pot on the stove, as opposed to boiling the water in a kettle and adding the ingredients after?
I think when you add the ingredients in a pot instead of a kettle, I think the decoction that the tea leaves and then the infused with the spices, it just becomes more stronger, much richer, and you can actually taste the flavor of the spices in your mouth. Otherwise, if you just put it on top, it just has this superficial kind of taste. It's not as deep. So it just depends on how deep you want your decoction to be and how flavorful you want your chai to taste. So when I make my chai, it's usually on the stovetop.
And just other people chiming in. As a Thai American, I also called family friends when I was little auntie, uncle, and it was always something difficult to explain to others that while they weren't blood related, they were still family. And
Annie's my
I love it. I love it. Festival of India was my entree into the Indian community locally for me and my family, and the Museum of History's Asian Indian Oral History Project. It is a great honor, Archana, that you and Chandra share so much with our community. And this makes me hungry now. The Punjabi mango pickle, is that a regional taste and tradition?
Yeah, it is. It is a regional taste, but Punjabi mango pickle is very different from Andhra style mango pickle that they, I think in Jay's house, they make that because Jay is from Andhra, Telangana region. It's very different than what we make in Karnataka. The pickle is very different. So I mean, each state in India has its own cuisine, and within the state, there is a lot more diversity as well. Then it becomes more regional within the state as well. So within my own state of Karnataka, there are at least 5 or 6 recognized languages. And if I travel about 2 hours north from Mysore, I don't understand their language. So the state language is what kind of unifies us. But then if I travel from one state to another state, a neighboring state like Tamil Nadu or even Andhra, I don't know Tamil and neither do I know Telugu. So, but then we unite ourselves with either Hindi, but not everybody knows Hindi, because I mean, most people think Hindi is a national language, but in India, we don't have a national language. It's just a popular language. But then we speak the colonial language, English, unfortunately. So in order to communicate with other states, it becomes English. And again, not everybody knows English. So it's tough when you travel from one state to another state. You kind of have to, you are forced to learn the language of the state. In a way, that's good. In a way, that's good. So you become more aware of different states and then their language and traditions, if you're going to live in that state.
Well, great segue then into Jay's correction that he may have said 2003 when they opened the Telugu school in town. He meant to say 2013. 2003 is when his family moved to Bloomington. And I know he's still out there, but I don't see him active. So I just wanted to oh, there you are, Jay. I just wanted to make sure that the correction was duly noted. Well, thank you so much for sharing the great stories, powerful observations and reflections. And I actually look forward to going back and listening to this again because I want to capture so much, a second time.